Hi, 6th grade. It's Monday morning. Hope you've all had a great weekend. It's already Monday again. These weekends seem to fly by. And I'm outside recording this devotion, as you can see. And it's cold and it's chilly. And guess what it's starting to do? It's starting to rain. I promise every time I get out here, it starts to rain. This is some tea that I have in my cup. I should have water, but I just wanted you to be able to see it. So I put some tea in here. Are y'all thirsty this morning? I'm going to get me some coffee soon and warm me up a little bit because I'm very chilly. But I did want to start our day with a devotion. And I want to talk to you about being thirsty for God. Hence the tea. But if we're not hungry or if we're not thirsty for something, we don't necessarily want more of it, do we? No. And today I want to encourage you to be thirsty for God. When you come in from your gym class with Brother Dakota into my room and you are all pouring sweat and you have that 6th grade sweaty, stinky smell, and yes, you do all have it, I promise you, because I smell it. That's okay. I'm used to it by now as a teacher. But the first thing that you all start saying is, Sister Preston, can I go get a drink? Sister Preston, I need a drink. Sister Preston, can I please go out in the hallway and get a drink? Because you are thirsty. And it's not anything that anybody had to teach you to be, but your body required that extra water. All of us need to drink water all the time. It is good for our bodies, and we can kind of feel it when we're missing it, I think. But Psalms 42 verses 1 through 2 says to be thirsty for God's word. And I didn't write that scripture down. I'm so mad at myself. Be thirsty for God's word. So, have any of you ever been thirsty at other times other than in the classroom? Times I've been thirsty. Outside on a hot summer day, definitely. I've been thirsty. Sometimes you eat food that makes you thirsty, like popcorn or ham. Anything salty like that makes you thirsty. Or, I don't know, what are other peanuts can make you thirsty. And so today we're going to talk about Psalms 42, 1 through 2. And even though I didn't write it down, and it's raining a little harder out here, but even though I didn't write it down, it talks about how a deer longs for the streams of water and how we need to long for God in the exact same way. We need to be thirsty for God, thirsty for the living God. And just like that deer goes to a river, where can we go to get our thirst quenched? David, the writer of Psalms, what is he thirsty for? He says he's thirsty of God and he wants more of God. Just like you want that sip of water when you're so hot and thirsty after gym. A sip of water refreshes us, restores us, and God does the exact same thing when we spend time with him. And he restores our soul when we spend time to him. And that's where we find our water. That's where we quench our thirst in God, is by spending time with him. How do we spend time with God? You all know that answer already. By reading your Bible and having a prayer time. I'm going to finish this just to annoy all of you. And I'm going to probably slurp it just to annoy all of you. Trying to get every last drop here. So good. So what I want to remind you of this morning, every time you put a straw in anything in the future, every single time, if you go through the drive-thru at McDonald's, if you go through Dairy Queen, if your mom gives you a straw at supper time, I want you to think, God, make me more thirsty for you. God, give me a desire, just like that deer in Psalms 42:1 desires to be by the brook and drink the water. Give me a thirst for you, God, for more time with you, for more time in your church, for more time in your word, Lord, for time alone before I go to bed at night, Lord, kneeling by my bed. Give me a thirst for you. So every time you see a straw, that's what I want you to think of. It is raining like really hard out here. So I'm going to have to go inside and we will pray together inside and we will start math. So I hope you all have a good week, and I'm excited about our third to last week of school together, and I will see you in math.
Parentheses first, exponents next, multiplication and division in the same step. Addition is subtraction, if you got the nerve, from left to right, first come, first serve. Parentheses first, 2 times 4, the product's 8. Are you ready for more? Exponents next, 2 squared is 4. Let's move down like we did before. Time to divide or multiply. Let's see what we got. Take a look at the signs. Divide the 8 by the 2. The quotient's 4, and we're almost through. It's finally time to add or subtract. 8's the answer, and that's a fact.
Bring it down!
Parentheses first, exponents next, multiplication and division in the same step. Addition is subtraction, if you got the nerve, from left to right, first come, first serve. Parentheses first, 2 times 6, the product's 12, put it back in the mix. Exponents next, 3 squared is 9. When you know the tricks, it don't take much time. Now we divide or multiply. Let's see what we got. Take a look at the signs. 9 divided by 9 is 1. The answer's close, man. We're almost done. 4 minus 1 has a difference of 3. When we add the 12, we get 15. Parentheses first, exponents next, multiplication and division in the same step. Addition is subtraction, if you got the nerve, from left to right, first come, first serve.
All right, 6th grade, you just saw a video on Pemdas, which I hope helped you to remember last Thursday's lesson. I'm sorry, but before we begin, let's go ahead and have prayer time, because I didn't do that on the porch because I was getting rained on. So Natalie sent me a prayer request this week for her family. I don't really want to go into any details without asking her permission, but let's be praying for Natalie's family. They have a need for God to be with them, and it's a happy time, but it's also a time that they need the Lord to guide and comfort at this time. So let's remember Natalie's family. Also, we have a lady in our church, and so many of you know her well. Carly's family is very close to her. Sister Maury needs our prayers. Sister Maury is very sick, and she needs a healing. She needs a miracle, and I know that the Lord can give her that miracle. Sister Maury has been some of your Sunday school teachers in the past, so many of you have a very big connection with Sister Maury. So let's be praying for her. I know the Lord can heal her body, and that's what I'm asking him to do. So let's bow our heads and let's begin our day with prayer, because we are thirsty for God. Dear Jesus, I love you. I thank you. I praise you. I magnify you this morning. Lord, before we begin this day, before we begin this week, I just want to stop and praise you for all that you've done in our lives, Lord. You have been so good to us. Lord, we bring these 2 needs of Natalie's family before you and Sister Maury. I know that you understand each one of the situations, and you are able to help and to touch and to move, Lord, and we are asking for a miracle in both of these situations. Lord, I pray that you help my students this week as they begin to learn, especially on this new math lesson, that I wish that I was with them, Lord, so that I could see if they're needing extra help. I pray that you will help them on this order of operations. Continue to be with us this week. Continue to be with my students and their families, Lord, during this quarantine time. I love you, Lord, and thank you for all that you've done for us. In Jesus' name, amen. And if you need to go back and rewatch the Pemdas movie again, it's a fun and silly movie, especially when the grandma spits out her teeth, but it's going to be a very helpful movie to you. In your folder on Friday, you received this worksheet here that says Pemdas. This is not a worksheet that you have to do anything on. It's kind of like your formula sheet, It's just a huge help to you if you want to get it out every time that we're doing order of operations, anytime that you're doing a worksheet or homework. It just helps you remember exactly what PEMDAS stands for. And I like it because it has the little explanation next to each letter. So of course the P is for parentheses. Those are 3 different parentheses that you'll see. We will most likely have the curved ones. Exponents shows you the extra power that you have to do next. Multiplication or division, remember we talked about that. You don't do all the multiplication first and then all the division. You just do whichever one comes first, left to right. Addition and subtraction, you don't do all addition first and then subtraction. You just work left to right. If there's addition or subtraction, you do it in that order. And I hope that some of that review from Thursday is coming back to you. On your syllabus this week, it says, like every week, that I will be telling you on YouTube what needs to go on paper, so I really hope that some of you are following along. One other thing that I want to encourage you, please put your name on your paper. Some of you are still not doing that for me, and that makes it very difficult for me, your teacher, to figure out whose paper is who when I have 19 students. Make sure your name is on your paper because I take them all out of your folders and I organize them a different way other than inside of your folders. So please make sure your name is on. Thank you for those that are really doing a good job at that and trying hard to make sure your name is on. All right, no speed drill this week. I wanted to give you a little break from that. Also, before we start on math, I'm sorry I'm taking a long time to get started today. You will notice on your Friday syllabus that there will not be a YouTube video on Friday. I'm not going to be available to get that done this week for Friday. So you get a day off of math on Friday, so that should be a happy thing for you. However, the rest of the day you do have work in each subject, but it is work that you can do without me on your own. In fact, if you get that done early, you can go ahead and get that in Friday's folder. So that's all stuff that you could kind of really do ahead of time, I think. So be working on Friday's work and maybe get it in your folder for drop off Friday morning. But if you don't, it's fine. I will just check on it the next week. All right, let's get into math. Before we get started, I also need to find my marker or I won't have anything to write with. I'll be right back. Don't leave me. Don't leave me, don't leave me. I'm coming, I'm coming. Found my marker, found my marker. I'm back. You were hoping I wouldn't find it and I'd have to say, well, I guess we won't have school today. Wrong. Let's open up in your math books to page 245. 245. All right, we reviewed this, or we started this on Thursday. Something new for you. I know you had a little bit of it in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, but we are broadening it a little bit, and so I want to go as slowly as I can. Pemdas, as I said, is going to be the biggest help, I think, to you. It is to me, and it's just the way that I teach it. I also mentioned on Thursday, if you come from another school and you would like to do it the way your school taught you, that is not a problem with me. I just need to see your work. So each time I have my 6th graders write on their paper PEMDAS, or else have this one handy so that you can remember what those stand for. On your paper last week, on your notebook paper, we worked on A through D, I believe, on number 1 on page 245. And we're actually going to keep working on 245 today. I want to do E, F, G, H with you. So I do want you to do this on notebook paper, E, F, G, and H, only because I want you to get in the practice of writing the steps down. So I realize that I'm doing it with you. I realize I'm giving the answers on the board, but I want to see it on your notebook paper. So get out a clean sheet of notebook paper, math at the top with today's date, which is April 27th. Go ahead and put page 245 for me on there as well. So let's go over the yellow box just for a real quick review. Order of operations. We want to simplify or do what we know to do within the parentheses first. Next, we want to go to our powers, or we also call them exponents, and solve for those, then rewrite our problem. Then we want to multiply or divide left to right. Whichever comes first from left to right, multiplication or division, that is what we're going to do. Last of all, we're going to add or subtract whatever comes first in the problem. We will do that first, addition or subtraction. And then by the time we do all those things, we should come up with an answer at the bottom. So I'm going to go straight down to E. Today is review from Thursday. So again, we're not learning anything new, just reviewing. I'm going to write E on the board. It's 12 times 2 plus 12 times 2 plus parentheses 6 divided by 3. Let me double check on that and make sure I've written that correctly. Yes. Now, excuse me. Again, I said last Thursday, don't just start saying, oh, 12 times 2 is 24 plus 6 is 30 divided by 3 is 10. That is going to be incorrect. The answer is not 10. We're going to do our Pemdas steps. What's our first step? P for parentheses. Do we have parentheses? Yes, we do. So we're going to rewrite our problem until we get there to solve it. 12 times 2. You know what? I did something wrong there, didn't I? Nope, I didn't. I'm good. 12 times 2 plus, all right, I'm ready for parentheses. 6 divided by 3, everybody, is what? 6 divided by 3 is 2, so I solved that. Now, do I have exponents? No, so I can just skip that step. Do I have multiplication? Yes, I do, or division. Don't have division, I'm just going to do this multiplication first. 12 times 2 is what? 24. Write the rest of my problem. I don't have division, so I'm going on to addition and subtraction, and yes, I have division. Oh, yes, I have addition. So I'm going to add these two together, and of course my answer is 26. You don't have to circle that 26, but some of my 6th graders have in the past, because it helps me see your answer quickly. I'm going to give you a second. I want you to get all of this written down like this so that I can see your final answer of 26, so that I know you don't think the answer is 10, because it is not 10. And I'm also going to look for my eraser. Anytime that you need to pause this to get these written down, you can. I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next problem. I just think doing problems with you will kind of help you troubleshoot when you see something new that you haven't done yet. And when you see me do it, I think it'll be a little bit clearer for you. So that F is 5 times 6 divided by 3. And then we have a little bit, which is also divided by 5. All right. Let's start at P. We don't have parentheses, so we can skip that. We don't have exponents, we can skip that. We do have multiplication and division, so we're going to do that just as we come to it in the answer. I'm sorry, in the problem. 5 times 6 is 30 divided by 3 divided by 5. Now we're ready to do the rest of our division. 30 divided by 3 is 10 divided by 5. Still on division, 10 divided by 5 is 2, and my answer is 2. Hope you all see how I came up with that. Now, if you had just gone left to right, you still would have come up with the correct answer, because you have multiplication, and we just do multiplication and division left to right. 2 is your answer for that one. Going to erase and write our next one. As I said, this needs to be on your notebook paper. 7 plus 2 times 6. Now they're trying to throw you off here a little bit. This looks easy peasy, and it is, but you must follow your Pemdas steps. Do I have parentheses? No, I don't. Do I have exponents? No, I don't. Do I have multiplication and division? Yes, I do. So I'm going to do that first. I'm not going to add 7 plus 2 yet because I'm doing multiplication or division. So 2 times 6 is 12. Now I'm ready to add my 7 plus 12, which we know is 19. Now if I had just done it how it looks, 7 plus 2 would be 9 times 6, and that would be my answer. But as you can see, my answer is 19. You must do Pemdas order. And the last one on this page that we're going to do is H, and it's 9 minus 6 divided by 3. Very similar to the one that we just did. Because they're trying to throw us off to do 9 minus 6 first, but we're not supposed to. Subtraction's way down here. Do I have parentheses? No. Exponents? No. Multiplication? No. But I do have division, so I'm going to rewrite my problem until I get to my division. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now no addition, I do have subtraction. 9 minus 2 is 7, and my answer is 7. Hope everybody feels pretty comfortable with this. On Thursday, you also did number 2. Let me look over at your syllabus here. We are going to the back to do some review problems, which is not really review for you. It's actually pretty new. So we're going back to page 347 in the supplementary exercises. And today on your work, you are doing, and it says on your syllabus to do numbers 10, 11, 12, 13, 18, and 21. Oh, I don't think I like 10. What? Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong page. No wonder I didn't like 10. All right, yes, this looks much better. Whoo, thank you, Jesus. Okay, 10, 11, 12, 13, 18, and 21. Yes, I do like all of these. I just want to talk about them for a minute. Now on number 10, you will have 4 times parentheses 8 plus 3. So what are you going to do first? You're going to do your parentheses first. So your next line should look like 4 times 11. Hope everybody remembers that. I think you'll do fine with 11 as long as you, again, do parentheses first and then do your multiplication and division left to right. On here you have division first, so you will do that first. Number 12, no parentheses, but you do have an exponent. So your first line should look like this. 32 divided, what is 2 squared? 2 squared is 4 plus 6 times 3. And then follow Pemdas from there. Number 13, again, follow Pemdas. And 18, let me take a look at it. I think you're going to be fine with that. And 21 is a little bit different. That's the one that I want to talk to you about. We have parentheses, yes, and we have exponents. So, usually we do our parentheses first, but we cannot solve our parentheses here until we do our exponents. So what is 1 squared? It's of course 1. What is 2 squared? It is of course 4. Let me solve it with you that far. And then I think it has 3 squared, which we know is 9. And then the rest of your problem says to square it. Now your parentheses are solved, so you're going to go back and solve your new parentheses. 1 plus 4 plus 9 is what? And whatever you have left of that number, you're actually going to square for your answer. That one's a little trickier, so I hope that helps. I kind of gave you a skeleton of it. So that is your math for today. I know this is new for you. Really take your time and focus on it. If it would even help to go back and rewatch Thursday's lesson, that would be the one you need to watch. Go back to your yellow box on page 245. Go over the examples that I did with you on E through H to try to help you out as much as you can. And I am available for questions, so feel free to call me. And we are done with math for today. Once you finish that, get it put in your folder for pickup on Friday, for drop off on Friday. And I will see you in language. On Thursday, we left off on page 211 in language, and I told you to go ahead and do 211 in your book because I just think it's a lot of writing for you to do. But I'm going to go over the answers just so that you know you have it correct or not. Even if I don't know, you'll know, and your parents will know, and that will make me feel better. So let's go ahead and open up to 211 in your language book, and I'm going to go over those answers. Give you a minute to get that found. All right, 211. And I believe last week I told you to do 1 through 15, and I think I might have done 16 through 25 with you. Actually, I cannot remember, and I don't have last week's syllabus in front of me. I'm going to go, I think I'm correct, so I'm going to go over 1 through 15 with you. Number 1, we played better than any. You should have injected other. You could have put it in with a caret or an arrow. Remember our carets from the beginning of the year? Just look like this. Any other team in the tournament. Number 2, there is cross off fewer and put less. If you have some of these wrong, you can fix them as I go. I'm not taking this page for a grade. I just want you to understand it. Number 3, I am a faster reader than my sister. So we should cross off what? Cross off more. Number 4, the Nile is the most longest river in the world. Remember how we talked about those double comparisons are incorrect? We don't need most and EST, so we're crossing off out most. Number 5, Mr. Harris likes to ride them thoroughbred horses. I got a picture today, or not today, this weekend, of one of Carly's horses. Beautiful, beautiful little horse. What do we need to fix in that one? We need to change them to what? I hope I'm hearing a 6th grader shout out those. Number 6, there are less tires on those trucks than on those buses. We want to take out less because we can actually count them. So what word do we want to put? We want to put, Brianna, I hope you're saying fewer, fewer. Jacob, my spelling grades are worser than my language grades. That's not true for Jacob. I just called on him. Worser, is worser even a word? No, we don't need that in a comparison. We're just going to change worser to Jacob. I'm hoping you're saying worse. Number 8, this joke is more funnier than Justin's. Ella, let's take out what there? Lost my spot. We don't need more and funnier, so we're taking out more. Right? I keep losing my spot here. Yes. Number 9, the duck hawk is the most fastest bird in the world. Lavinia has a new little duck. So Lavinia, answer this one. We don't need most and fastest, so we're taking out Lavinia, hoping you said most. Number 10, you will have to be more carefuler when you check your work. Carson, I know you know that's totally incorrect. What do we want to change carefuler, which is not even a word, to, Carson? Yes, we want to change it to careful. This anchor, Caitlin Hannah, is more heavier than that one. Yeah, this anchor is more heavier than that one. We don't want that double comparison. So what are we going to take out, Caitlin? We're taking out, hope you're saying more. Very good. Number 12, there are less soldiers in this platoon than in that one. Now, could we count them? It might take us a long time, but we could. So instead of saying less, we're going to say fewer. Number 13, Hunter, I read all the magazines in one night. That sounds like a boy from the hills. What do you think, Hunter? I read all those magazines in one night. Wow, somebody stayed up late reading magazines. Number 14, Lucas, she was a faster typist than anyone in her class. I think these are a little trickier. Remember, when you're comparing to one person to everyone in the class, you want to add that word else or other. So Lucas, we're actually adding the word else with our caret after anyone else. Number 15, and that's the last one you had to do on your own. This picture is the most clearest one in the whole album. Natalie, what do you think there? We want to take out most and say this picture is the clearest one in the whole album. Very good. Just going over that work from Thursday. And next on your syllabus, it says that you need to do finding adjectives worksheet. It does not have a page number on it, I don't believe. It does say God's gift of language. See up in the top right corner, it does have a place for your name. And I'm going to read the directions so that you can work on this. Finding adjectives. Hope everybody has that worksheet found. While I read directions, look over them with me. Circle every adjective. Did I put that on my notes? I did not put that in my notes. So if you're listening to YouTube, you're going to get a little bit of help here. Circle every adjectives except the a, an, and the in the following sentences. Number 2, underline every prepositional phrase used as an adjective. You do not have to do part 2 for me if you want to cross that out of your directions. The only thing I'm going to be looking for are the circled adjectives. I'm going to do number 1 with you. French perfume is usually very expensive, but Esther's aunt found a small bottle on sale in Paris. Now, don't forget our adjectives. What job do they have in a sentence? They have a job to describe a noun. So, our first noun here is perfume. Is there anything describing perfume? I heard Caitlin Coombs say, hopefully, French. So yes, circle that. There's one other word here, Dylan, that's describing perfume. What do you think it is? They don't always have to come right before the noun. It is expensive. So we're circling French and expensive to modify perfume. Now we have a few more in this sentence. But Esther's aunt found a small bottle on sale in Paris. Aunt is certainly a noun. Do we have anything describing aunt? Yes, we do. We have a proper adjective of Esther. So we're circling Esther. Whose aunt? Esther's aunt is our adjective. Also, we have a noun of bottle. Do we have anything describing bottle? Oh, yes, we do. What is it? Who haven't I called on this morning? Let's see. Callaway. It is small. So let's circle small. Now, if we were doing number 2, our prepositional phrase that's being used as an adjective is on sale, but we're not doing that. So if you recognize that, very good for you. That's amazing. So our number 1 adjectives on finding adjectives is French, expensive, Esther's, and small. You need to do the rest 2, 3, and 4 on your own. Not very difficult. And then put it in your folder. You will have more than 2 in each of the sentences. So you're going to have 3 or more in those sentences. So go ahead and pause me and take time to do that. After you finish that, we're going to do a little bit more review in our book. We're opening up to page 214. 214, and you're doing the sentence. This is major review. I don't think anybody's going to have trouble with this. In the blank before the number, write S for simple sentence, CD for compound, F for fragment, or RO for run-on. Yes, this needs to be on notebook paper, so get out a clean sheet and put language at the top, page 214, number 1 through 7. If you want to write the sentence above that, you can. You don't have to. After you finish that one, we are going over for some more review on page 215 using verbs. And you can put this on the same paper as page 214, just right on the top of where you start numbering these, page 215. Some of the papers that you're getting back in your folders, you'll notice that I circled the page numbers. That's not anything for you. I just circled the page numbers for my benefit, so that's not incorrect or anything. Using verbs. Again, this needs to go on your same notebook paper. Number 1, our cat dragged or drug a mouse to our front door and left it lying or laying there. Now, you might need to go back in your book and look up some of these verbs because we haven't been over them in a while. On number 1 on your blank on your notebook paper, you're going to write dragged. Our cat dragged a mouse. Remember we said you can't drug anything. A drug is a drug. A drug is a drug. A drug is a bad thing. It's not a form of dragging. Our cat, and then so you're just going to put 1 on the line, dragged, and left it what? Lying or laying? The correct answer is lying, although I can hear some of you say laying. Laying is incorrect. So dragged and lying are the correct answers for number 1. You don't have to write the whole sentence, just give me those 2 correct verbs on the lines. Some of these have 1 verb in them, so you'll just have 1 answer. Some of them have 2. So the most you should have is 2 answers on each one of those lines. And after that, we are done with language for the day. And take your time on that because that is going in as a grade. And if it's not in your folder, it will be a missing assignment. So make sure I'm getting all of this work turned into me, please. And I will see you next in reading. 6th grade for reading today, you're opening up to page 101 in your Of America book. I'm looking for it with you. Last week we read Wolf, the Faithful Collie. Definitely saved a life and was a hero. You're doing reading on your own today, which is 101 to 104. Your story is Snobber, and I think you're going to like this story. It's an interesting, good story. I like it a lot. So go ahead and read 101 to 104 on your own. Also, in health today, you have to do worksheets 13 to 14. You may use your book to look for the answers for these questions. You do not have to put page numbers. Also, Tuesday's health is also pages 15 and 16. So those are front and backs. 13 and 14 is a front and back. 15 and 16 is a front and back. If you have extra time today and you want to do both of those worksheets on the same day, you may certainly do that. Just put them in your folder for me when you're done with them. Make sure your name is on them. And we are going to move right on to history today, and it will be our last class of the day for this first day of the week. And we're starting a brand new chapter in history. We learned here lately in history about a lot of sad times in our history, and I flew through them. If we had been together, I would have taken so much more time to go over them because I enjoy talking about them. But World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, a lot of hard, sad times, not only for our country, but for our world. Now we're moving into a time where people begin to prosper. The world of opportunity kind of opened up for more people, for the average middle income person and not just the upper income. So I think you're going to enjoy this reading. It's not quite as sad as some of the reading that we've done in the past couple of weeks. So we're opening up to page 246. Read along with me in your book. It helps get it in your brain. Also, I will be giving you some highlights. Chapter 14, United States History, Time for Freedom and Responsibility. Years of prosperity and opportunity. The post-war boom. So that means we're now talking about after the war. After World War II, the U.S. was considered the most powerful and prosperous country in the world. And we've talked about many times why we received that compliment, and I believe it was because of the blessings and the protection of the Lord. America's prosperity still rested upon a solid moral and spiritual foundation. And the economy, highlight the word economy and highlight until I tell you to stop. The economy or system of producing and distributing goods was strong. Factories was able to produce the goods that were needed. Now, in today's news, you might be hearing a lot about the economy, and it's talking about the producing and distributing of our goods. But when that's the definition of economy, but I think more in a sense of money, of course, not just the distribution and producing, but what kind of money that's being made from those goods, and how much money our Americans are actually earning. A lot of people are out of a job right now due to the coronavirus because so much of our economy has closed down, such as restaurants and barbershops and stores and malls, and so many things have closed down, therefore putting people out of a job. Therefore, our economy has been injured, hurt, hindered from this. Moving on, I hope I explained that well enough. Stores were able to sell them and people could afford to buy them. The prosperity of the U.S. during these years laid the groundwork for the research and development of today's 2020 computers, lasers, and medical wonders. So the foundation was being laid for these wonderful inventions. Between 1945 and 1965, many young couples made down payments on houses and started families. The birth rate soared during this time, causing a baby boom in America. And no, babies did not blow up. We just had a lot of babies born during that time. As the population grew from 150 million to 1950 to nearly 180 million in 1960, many Americans moved from the rural areas to the larger cities. Soon, 2 out of every 3 people in the United States lived in or near a city. Most lived in communities called suburbs on the outskirts of the city. Living in the suburbs was made possible by the automobile, which was now commonly used for transportation. One way that I can describe suburbs is I definitely lived in a suburb of Chicago growing up. I don't call Knoxville just a huge hub city, but I guess you could say that Maryville would be a suburb of Knoxville in a way. And people were able to work in Knoxville and move to the suburb of Maryville away from the traffic and the buildings because they could still drive their vehicles into work every day. So the invention of the car helped to make that possible for people to move out of town. Kind of a crazy explanation for that, but that's the one I have today on this Monday morning. Living in the suburbs was made possible by the automobile, going down advances in technology, better and faster transportation, including jet airplanes, also made products available to all. New technology or practical science increased the production of food and improved ways to preserve it or keep it from getting moldy or rotten. As a result, a wide variety of food became available all year long. We can go in our cabinet and get green beans in the winter when they're not actually growing in anyone's garden because the technology increased where they could put green beans in a can and seal them up and put them on store shelves where we can go buy them all year long. As medical knowledge improved, so did the health of Americans. The average lifespan, which had been 47, which is how old I am right now. So in the 1900s, I would be considered an old woman, actually probably ready to pass away or already passed away. It now increased because of the new knowledge of medicines to 77 years, which is a great thing by the year 2000. In the early 1950s, Dr. Jonas Salk developed the polio vaccine, ending the spread of that dreaded disease. And let's highlight that. Dr. Jonas Salk developed a polio vaccine, ending the spread of that dreaded disease. And we're able to be aware of that a little more because we have a disease attacking our world right now that does not have a vaccine to it yet. And that's one thing we are hoping and praying for, because if we can all get vaccinated, of course, we are less likely to catch this COVID-19. Other vaccines were later developed to protect against measles, mumps, diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, and other diseases. Time for leisure and recreation. Because of new technologies in the workplace, did I tell you to highlight Dr. Salk? I hope so. I'm going to say it one more time. Dr. Jonas Salk developed the polio vaccine, ending the spread of that dreaded disease. You needed to highlight that. Because of new technologies in the workplace, many Americans began to work fewer hours per week. New inventions for the home, including automatic washers and dryers, thank you, Jesus, dishwashers, microwave ovens, made chores at home less time consuming. If any of you come from a larger family, Owen, you do, Lavinia does, we have a little bit of a larger family, Carly does. I'm trying to think, any of you that have 3 or more siblings, or even 2 or more siblings. Goodness, Carson for sure. Lucas does. Trying to go through my classroom in my mind here. Daniel, you have a larger family. Brianna, definitely. Ariana, now that you have a baby sister, you do. Caitlin Hannah definitely does. Ella does, now that they have their foster children with them. Matthew Cooper does. Caitlin Coombs has 3 of them all together. So I'm sure you hear your mom talk all the time, because this mom is guilty of that. How much laundry she does. I do so much laundry. I do it in my sleep sometimes, I feel like. But so when the washing machine and the dryer for the washing machine came along, it made a whole bunch of mamas very, 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 very happy. Now families had more leisure time to spend on activities such as sports and entertainment. A new form of entertainment called the television became popular in the 1950s. Although television sets had a very small screen and offered very few channels, nothing like we have today, by the mid-1950s, they were found in over 90% of American homes. With more leisure time, millions of Americans began taking vacations and making tourism a major industry. So you can hear your parents nowadays talk about saving up money to go on a vacation. Going on vacation, going to Disney World, taking a cruise, going to the beach is a place where tourism helps out our American economy. And that is one thing that's been another negative thing about the coronavirus, is it has brought down tourism to zero, because they don't want anyone in these tourist places. Why? Because it would help spread the disease. So that was another thing. The tourism boosted our American economy. Americans touring the country not only enjoyed using the new interstate highways, but also more and more Americans began traveling by airplane. A greater feeling of national pride and unity developed as people toured the scenic national parks such as Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, Smoky Mountains, Valley Forge, Gettysburg. People hadn't been able to see these places before because it took them too long or was impossible to get to without a mode of transportation such as the airplane or the automobile. Now they could easily, in a couple days' time, or by airplane a couple hours' time, get to them and visit them. That's something we can't even comprehend, because we've always had the advantage of the automobile and the airplane. Freedom and opportunity for all Americans. During World War II, many minority groups served our country by working and fighting for freedoms. In the years after the war, many Americans were convinced that now was the time to overcome racial prejudice. Yes, it was past time to overcome racial prejudice. Asians, Africans, Latin Americans, and American Indians began participating more in all areas of American life. The first group to achieve more opportunities was Black Americans, who wanted to guarantee a better life for their children under the legal protection of their government. And yes, they should have wanted that. It's theirs just like it's anyone else's. Jackie Robinson and the Brooklyn Dodgers. Going off subject here a little bit, but still a very important part of our history. Highlight Jackie Robinson's name and stop highlighting. A young man from the sharecroppers farm in Georgia signed on as a player for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947 and became, highlight this, the first black Major League Baseball player. Callaway, this is right up your alley here. Stop highlighting there. He led the way for many other black athletes to become Major League sports stars. In 1962, Jackie Robinson was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. You think you might be there someday, Callaway? You never know. Through the years, many more black athletes became role models for millions of young Americans. Next page. And are we stopping there today? Let's go ahead and read Marian Anderson, one of the world's 10 most admired women. Since we talked about Mr. Jackie Robinson, who was such a great athlete, let's get a great woman in here today for all my girls. At the age of 6, Marian Anderson, let's highlight just her name, displayed such talent as a member of the choir in Philadelphia's Union Baptist Church that the church established a trust fund known as Marian Anderson's Future. Wow, to pay for her professional training in singing. By 1939, she was recognized throughout Europe as one of the greatest opera singers of the age. Now, I don't listen to a lot of opera, but I enjoy it because I think it's such an amazing, amazing talent. And it is such a, oh goodness, it's just beyond the realm of normal singing, certainly beyond the realm of anything that your teacher has ever dreamed of doing. Let's go ahead and highlight the greatest opera singer of the age. And stop there. But in the same year, she was denied the privilege of singing in Washington, D.C.'s Constitution Hall. Why do you think she was denied that? Because she was a black American. Instead, on Easter Sunday morning in 1939, Marian Anderson stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial before 75,000 Americans of all races and walks of life who came to hear her marvelous voice. Later, she became the first black American to be a performing member of New York City's Metropolitan Opera, which is the top opera of its time. By 1961, she was recognized by the American Institute of Public Opinion as one of the world's most admired women. Marian Anderson used her God-given talent and honest character to peacefully bring about change, and Americans responded to her personal appeal. Notice she brought about change peacefully and honestly. Instead of trying to cause a ruckus, she did it by her sweet, sweet spirit. And she probably definitely did it by her sweet, sweet voice. So we're going to stop there for history today, and we will pick up tomorrow at the civil rights movement. Oh, incredibly, incredibly important time for America. So I'm excited to talk about that tomorrow. One other thing before we end our day, in your folder somewhere, and it might be caught down in the bottom, are two little black squares of paper. On one of them I have put a friend's name and that it's from you. Go ahead and write them a little note, draw them a picture, put it back in your blue folder, and I will send it to them the following week. I put an extra one in there in case you made a goof up or a mistake. If you didn't make a mistake, you can just use that to make a picture on, or that's just yours to keep. I also put two art projects. Did I put two in? Yes, the puppy dog art project with the fence and the little scroll art project. You're welcome to do those. They are not an assignment. It is totally optional. Just thought you might want those for fun. Many of you sent me your pictures of your soap clouds that came out of your microwave. I loved them. Wow, you guys, yours were bigger than mine. I don't know what, maybe my microwave's not as powerful or something, but I thought that was a fun activity. If you still don't know why I sent you soap, check out last Thursday's YouTube video at the very end and you will find out. So I'm going to hush up and quit talking today so that you can have the rest of your afternoon or the rest of your day open, and I will see you here in the basement, our new school in the basement, on Tuesday morning. Have a great afternoon, everybody.